like it.
I'd like to call the Board of Public Works and Safety meeting to order Tuesday, August 17th. It is 9:04 a.m. Amanda Haverstock, will you lead us in the pledge?
Allegiance
To the flag
of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Before we begin, our community lost a valuable volunteer, former chief, fire chief at Center Township, Mark Cristiano. And I'd like to take a moment of silence, thanking him and his family and sending our condolences for his passing. Mark was a wonderful human being, and if we could just take a moment of silence in his memory. Thank you. Approval of minutes. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. Discussion? Hearing none, all in favor state by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes 3-0. Clerk Treasurer Parthoon.
Okay, we've got payroll, August 6th, 2021, in the amount of $450,863.69.
I move we approve the payroll.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. Discussion? Hearing none, all in favor state by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes 3-0.
We have civil city claims in the amount of $296,274.26.
I move we approve the civil city claims.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. Discussion? I did notice a Lake Fest, some expenditures, I believe. Can we get, I don't know if that's Mr. Schreiber, not to put him on the spot, a P&L, kind of a profit and loss on Lake Fest, once we get everything in? If you'd like to see that.
Absolutely.
Good. So I do have a motion and a second. Further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor state by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes 3-0.
We have water claims in the amount of $234,406.26.
I move we approve the water claims.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. Discussion? Hearing none, all in favor state by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes 3-0.
And then sewage claims, a little bit higher, there were 3 bond payments, $1,516,638.38.
I move we approve the sewage claims.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. Discussion? All those in favor state by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes 3-0. Thank you, Clerk Treasurer Parthoon.
Mayor, real quick, you skipped public comment. I don't know.
I don't think we had, do we have any public comment?
Okay.
Perfect, thank you. Anybody on?
No, nobody on social media.
Perfect.
Bert Cook was the one that catch that, so.
Thank you, Mr. Cook. I appreciate you paying attention. Department head reports, brief reports. Jess Bruder, Communications.
Good morning. Not much to report this morning. Website project is just about finished. We're coming up on that deadline next week. So that's almost done. Lake Fest t-shirts, last opportunity to purchase Lake Fest t-shirts for the year is going to be this Friday, August 20th. You can get those from the park office. And I think that's it. I have a request for use a little bit later.
Thank you. Bert Cook, LEAP, Economic Development.
Good morning to the Board of Public Works. Bert Cook, Executive Director of the LaPorte Economic Advancement Partnership. Just one thing this morning to invite the Board of Public Works as well as the public. Our community engagement series is coming up on September, our next in this series is coming up on September 2nd from 7:30 to 9 a.m. at the Healthcare Foundation. Our own Nick Minnick will be speaking on the North-South Connector. So if anyone in the public has interest and has questions about that project or would like to be there to find out more information, we'd be happy to host them. You can register on laportepartnership.com.
And is this something that you can't walk in? You do have to
Correct,
register?
you do have to be registered, that is correct.
But the public, non-members are invited?
Correct. Yep.
Great discussion. I think this is going to be good conversation, so
Absolutely.
thank you.
Thank you.
David Heinhold, Planning.
Good morning, board members. David Heinold, city planner. Just giving you a brief update. 150 Pine Lake, we advertised for bids on Friday, August 13th. The deadline for submitting bids will be for the Don George Building proposals will be Tuesday, September 7th at 4 p.m., which would come before you at the September 8th meeting at 9 a.m. If you have any questions, I'll be glad to answer them. Other than that, I don't really have anything else new to update.
I thought we had a proposal already, so was that prior to putting this out to bid? I'm a little confused on the process. Could you explain it to me?
This is the
David?
second round of bid offerings because that bid was less than the average of the two appraisals and you
Oh,
cannot
that's
accept
right. I
those,
forgot
so-
about that. Okay.
So this will be the second round.
Okay, thank you for clarifying.
So, and maybe this is a question for Mr. Otis possibly, but with these bid openings, we certainly have some sense of what, the one bid, what the intention was for that property, and it sounds like maybe there's some potential additional interest. With these bids, given what they might be, what different parties might want to do, are we able to, must we take the highest bid, or is it a matter of what the plan is going to be?
We can take what the plan is gonna be. It doesn't necessarily need to be the highest bid in this circumstance.
Okay, I'm just thinking like
Yeah.
kind of what we're
What's the
trying to do,
best
like,
fit
what's
for
the
the
best fit
community?
for the
Correct.
That's what we
city?
can
for the-
Right,
yeah,
right.
okay.
I think the bid certainly plays a significant role in it. The difficulty, of course, the two appraisals were pretty widely different, if I recall, correct, David?
were
So,
Vastly different.
yeah, part of the difficulty for a developer is you tear the whole building down, and just tearing it down is pretty expensive. So I know there's been additional interest. I think a couple parties have toured the building even, or are going to tour the building, so. Good question, but you are correct. We don't have to take necessarily the highest bidder.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Beth West, Transport.
Good morning. Not much to report. Thursday, I will be partaking in a virtual panel on propane, discussing why it's a good thing we're running propane buses. And also working on our annual grant with NDOT, getting that done and submitted before the beginning of September. That's about it.
Good luck. By the way, Jen Knoll will not be here this morning, and Jeff Batchelor is actually giving a presentation to AIM, which is the Association of Indiana Municipalities, on code enforcement. So they've reached out to him as kind of a leader in that market, and so he's doing that to other communities and trying to help other communities that have struggled with code enforcement. So he will not be here. Nick Minnick, Engineering.
There were some utility delays and other things, but 18th Street is well underway. I think sidewalks look pretty good. And, should, once the utilities are cleared up, see the asphalt going down too. We have a progress meeting tomorrow for NDOT's paving project, so we'll kind of hear about how that's going to wrap up. And if we have any more information, I'll be able to give it to you at the next meeting. Monroe Manor is well underway. Jerry Jackson might report a little more on it. We've got a local tracks quarterly meeting coming up, so we'll make sure that our Tipton Street overpass is still on track. Everything appears to be on track. And then also we have a field check for Park Street coming up, so that's another NDOT project. So plenty going on, even though there's not a lot of active construction right now.
Two things, 18th Street looks amazing.
It
The
does.
walkway, Southmore, not only for the kids from a safety perspective, but adults that want to use that. Mr. Otis, when he wants to run, that sidewalk looks amazing, so great job to you and the team. And the only person that's allowed to talk about Monroe Manor is the king himself, Jerry Jackson.
I won't say anything else.
Please don't try to, well, go ahead, I think there was another.
Oh, well, so with that, not to put it down on 18th Street Greenway, but what's the timeline for it being completed?
Right.
Because I thought I remember like,
Yeah,
You're
it was-
assuring us it'd be done by the time school started?
Yeah, well, school started way sooner than I thought it was going to. But also with those utility delays, they moved more utilities than we expected, which is nice because it makes the trail fit a lot better without having the conflicts. You can see where we kind of avoided some conflicts on Kingsbury, and we're not gonna have to do that nearly as much on the rest of 18th Street. I've kind of gotten a progress estimate of about another month of construction. We were having some issues with, Reith Riley was wanting to close the road more than we were comfortable with, and we kind of worked that out with them. We really don't want 18th Street closed, at least during pickup and drop off, so.
Oh my gosh, that would be a night. I can't imagine what would happen then.
Thank you.
Yep.
The king himself, Jerry Jackson, wastewater.
Late because I was at the Monroe Manor construction meeting. They're installing water main on Parkview today. They discovered a second water main that we didn't find in the first phase that was unknown. That was surprising. Some of the construction techniques are surprising too for war on the old infrastructure. Good to get it out of the ground. The contractors indicated that they'll have finished asphalt on the job that they've torn up so far by the end of the year. They always put some caveats about weather, but that's their plan. They think it's going to happen. And they'll have sod down, so there should be restoration, so we won't have mud in the winter. And then that should be a nice clean break at the end of this year, and then start next year on the rest of the project. So, look, that's going well. On Southmore, that project hasn't got started. The contractor, Stowski Brothers, is interested in getting going, but we're working on an easement, meeting with one of the residents tomorrow to get that easement squared up. We should have bids for McClung Road sanitary at the next meeting, and I've got a bunch of calls about people wanting to hook up. So some of them in the county. So I've said, if you want to hook up, you got to come on over into the city, and they understand that. So
That's great. And by the way, I think, not to put Jerry on the spot, but I think you would offer a tour. Just seeing, Jerry and I went out to Monroe Manor last week, and it is an amazing process and how in-depth it is to upgrade our infrastructure. So if you get a minute, I'm sure Jerry would show you. It was
Absolutely.
a nice process.
It's interesting to see. I mean, right now they're putting in water main. They've had some challenges with water main because they can't get enough from one supplier, so they've got two different suppliers. Everything is compatible, so to speak, but the contractor doesn't want to mess with mixing pipe and fittings and all that, because if there's a problem, then he's which manufacturer. So there's a lot of detail to construction you kind of don't see unless you're there doing it. They'll take out the water main, or they'll put in the new water main, put in storm, then they need to transfer everyone over to the new water main before they put in sanitary, because they have the same alignment. There's some issues with poles that might be in the way. It's an interesting job.
And it's amazing that we've allowed, what is it, joint flow water?
Combined, yeah, combined sewers.
Sewer versus separated, and when you see what they're doing out there, it's amazing.
Well, nice to have it done. And you know, it's a lot of disruption for the residents, but we're getting a lot of feedback. The feedback is, well, yeah, it's disruption, but it's going to be done, and we're going to have a nice looking neighborhood. So,
That's awesome.
Mark Schreiber, Park Department.
Morning. A few different updates. First, last night, the city council made an additional appropriation for $851,000 to upgrade our park fleet, significantly needed. This will allow us to overcome hurdles to properly maintain our parks for our residents, all residents, to be able to enjoy recreation and exercise opportunities. Also, it'll allow us to take care of those parks, which are the gateway to our lakes, which will be a big boon for our tourism, of course. So greatly appreciate the mayor and clerk treasurer and, of course, the council's vote last night to allow that to move forward. We did start the process of installing the disc golf course at Kessling Park earlier this month. We have the baskets, which are essentially the holes installed. This weekend, we started the process of putting in the concrete pads for the tee boxes, and we'll be working on signage. So we'll see that all rounding out here hopefully by the end of the month, early September. And also, we'll be doing some work at Kiwanis Teledyne Park later this month. We'll be installing a glacial stone seawall, which will help with an erosion issue there. At the same time, we plan to do dredging work in the little channel that goes underneath the walking bridge into the little inlet there, which is helps filter out stormwater as it runs off of Pine Lake and get that working correctly. So, but people should be advised there will be times where Kiwanis Teledyne Park will be closed off while that work is going on, at least the section of area where we're working. So expect to see that again, by the end of this month. Thank you.
Tim Werner, Water.
Good morning, Board. We finally did get our on-site approval for our new well field. We're just waiting for the official paperwork to come back from downstate. That way we can drill the test wells and make sure that those sites are favorable for water production. We do have the Kankakee #1 well back in service. I know I talked about it a couple meetings ago. We were having issues with the pump and the motor. We went ahead and did the cleaning on it. Got back about 200 gallons a minute more than what we were producing off of that well. So that was good news for us. And then the last meeting I talked to you guys about the inserter valve, the piece on there that was broke. I was going to go to some machine shops. Nobody felt comfortable with making that repair, so we're going to go ahead and get the new bulletproof, updated version of that. They're going to take our old motor, that way we don't have to pay in a core for it or anything. It's going to be around $10,000 for that machine to be fixed, but it is a dire piece of equipment for the city of LaPorte and the water department. That's all I have this morning.
And I'd also like to add, from our last meeting with our discussions with 39 North, our goal is to begin meeting sometime in early to middle September. Tim has been in the process of receiving a quote on the necessary upgrades from a water perspective, and I think would fill into a fire perspective to keep people safe. I know the number has come back extremely high, so it's something we're going to have to address. But again, we're not going to continue to have partners not do what's expected. So we're going to have difficult discussions, but for the residents' sake and non-residents' sake, we have to have those type of talks.
The bid did come back extremely high, but that also includes any future growth in that area. Instead of just building the system for what it is right now, there is some capacity upgrades along with that quote too. So, which would be dire for fire protection if anything else was to develop up in that area.
Nick Otis?
A couple comments on here. Joe Buda asked about fixing A through J streets. He said he's been hearing for 2 years that it's in the works. I thought maybe somebody could explain how either Jerry or Nick Minnick, how we analyze repairing roads.
Letter and number streets, if someone would like. Well, we'll go through department heads and we'll get those two after.
Okay.
Mike Fraze, streets.
Putting up school banners this week, tree cutting and doing some water cuts.
Chief Breton, police.
I'd just like to thank the school corporation for taking over our crossing guards. It's been a huge relief to the day shift and the afternoon shift. We can keep the officers out and about in their cars ready to respond. It's been a great help to us. And also on Sunday, Bethany Lutheran gave us a donation from the Red Wine and Brew to be used for our fight against drugs and our K-9 program.
And we'd like to thank Bethany Lutheran and their leadership for their commitment to our police and fire and safety. So thank you to them as well. Andy Snyder, fire.
Thank you, Mayor. Yes, to add to that, the donation to our department was greatly appreciated also. Unfortunately, we've been pretty busy lately. One of the items with the increase in COVID cases that we're seeing, luckily not overwhelmed yet, but we have closed out a FEMA grant by ordering a new supply of PPE equipment. So we're being prepared. We had plenty in stock, but we wanted to make sure that we if we do see the need for this, we have plenty to get us through it. Merit Commission is considering several rules changes within their operating procedures. One of them in particular that stands out is thinking about adding a minimum passing score for promotional testing. They've asked the union for some input on that to see if that's feasible or not.
I think that covers it. So we do have two questions, and Nick, I'm going to ask you to come up. And one thing I'd like to say is remind everybody, we probably, and you can nod and tell me I'm right or wrong, we probably have $30 million worth of road work still to do in the city of LaPorte, correct?
Yeah. I'd say at
20
least
million worth of sidewalks?
Yeah,
So we probably have $50 million worth of work, and the people and the residents are not wrong. We all want our roads fixed. We also want fire and police. We want clean water. We want wastewater. And so for streets with, say, $30 million, we invest, based on the state, $2 million, $2.5 million a year.
our goal is to hit around $2 million a year.
And it to repave a road, $250,000 per.
For a basic repave per mile it'd be about
Per
that
mile.
much,
So, and then sidewalks. We actually, based on the court system, has required us to put $50,000 a year towards sidewalks. We actually, Nick has been more proactive, and we put $100,000 towards sidewalks. I welcome anybody from the public that would like to walk through our budget, see and make adjustments, or tell us how to work those dollars to get more roads, more sidewalks done, because we certainly love to do more roads and sidewalks, correct? So if you'd like to address the A through J.
Yeah, so A through J, there have been streets in that area that have been completed, and past J, mostly south of 10th Street. We've had several north-south streets also completed. A Street, everything kind of north of 18th has been recently repaved. I think what I always go back to with the community is back in 2015-16, we started an asset management plan. And what that did was it prioritized trying to get the most expensive roads kind of in a condition that our street department can come in and maintain them so they stay in good condition longer. Because we did that, because we had more investment on what some people would call a Band-Aid up front, those streets can now be maintained for enough time that we're creating additional capacity within our paving budget to go back in and do local streets. So with the exception of A, most of the streets between A and J are local streets. So this year, last year, we started kind of making that turn where we're able to go back and do full depth pavement replacement on local streets, where previously we'd been focused on streets of a higher classification. So minor collectors, minor arterials, major collectors. So those streets, most of those are in a condition that's kind of acceptable. We also have to look at where our funding comes from. So certain streets we are able to use federal dollars, certain streets where we can use state dollars, but certain streets we can't use federal dollars on. So it becomes very complicated, and we have to use that asset management system, and it takes time. So we've repaved over 50% of our streets in the last 5 years. We're chipping away. When we do repaving, we do usually curb ramps and as much sidewalk as we're able to. Our sidewalk programs are focused, court-ordered, in 3 different priority areas. So most of the funds, and we've been able to leverage federal dollars in addition to the money the city's allocated to get up over $400,000 a year in sidewalks a few times over the last few years. So we're doing absolutely as much as we can, but that sidewalk work is really prioritized based on the court, and that's kind of radiating from the center of our city. So we want every single road to be in great condition. We're working as quickly and as efficiently as we can, and we're trying to make sure that we're maximizing every dollar spent, whether it be local tax dollars or grant dollars. We want every dollar eligible to go into pavement. So.
And our team is doing the best they can with the dollars they have. I'm the one that needs to be held accountable, and this individual can call me, 363-7293, if they'd like to discuss further. But our team is working to capacity based on the dollars that we do generate.
So given the needs right now as they stand for roads and sidewalks, what's your sense of, obviously, on an annual basis, there's deterioration of the roads, right? And probably with worse winters, I imagine it's even worse.
Yeah.
So are we, given what we know we need to accomplish as far as like ideally to get all roads right up to par, are we catching up? Are we falling behind? Are we on pace to just, 5 years from now, will we be again saying we need 30 million for roads, we need 20 million for sidewalks? Is this sort of just the pace that we'll be on, or is there some sense we're catching up? Sorry, that's kind of a long question.
Yeah, we're catching up. So we're definitely catching up, and what shows us that we're catching up is that we're now on the reconstruction of roads and not just maintaining roads. So we're not going in and, for example, one of the first roads we did was I Street to 10th Street, so from the start to 10th Street. And when we were able to do 4 inches on that, and that's held up pretty well in most cases. A lot of the other streets are 1.5 inches, but that's gonna get us quite a ways. We're now turned the corner and we're coming back and we're doing full depth pavement on a lot of local streets. Some of these streets haven't seen full depth pavement. Some of them have never seen it. So some of the newer roads, but other ones, it's maybe 30, 40 years since they've had a paving project like this. So we've got a really big hole we're climbing out of. Each year that number is going to go down. It's not going to, if we invest $2 million in paving, that doesn't mean the 30 million goes down to 28 million. But if we can get that number to come down 500,000 or 700,000 every single year, we're getting out of that deficit. And then we get to a point where our annual paving budget will help maintain what we have, and we're not in the hole we're in now.
And so a full depth repave for the 4 inches, like how long do you expect that road to not need additional, like, serious repairs?
Yeah, so it's all based on maintenance, but you can get a full depth repaved street to last another probably 20 years. So
As well, Mike Fraze and I, and with some help from Nick, are looking at other opportunities to deal with our roads, from new technology, different technology to use for our roads. Because with some corporations that are in that business every day, because again, as Nick said, it's a constant struggle. We have to try something different, be willing to look at something new, and we're in the process of having meetings and looking at for the future.
we're also in a point where there's been a huge commitment by the city to invest in other utilities. So a lot of the roads I'm talking about, they also need, they may need water main, they may need new sewer, they may need a sewer separation project. With the creation of the stormwater utility, which allows us to do those projects, and then the commitment with the recent bond issuance, we're in a much better place to, when we go in and fix roads, have them for the long term. So when we're doing the full reconstruction, not just full depth pavement, we can get even more life than that 20 years out of a road. So we're inching along, and we talk about the certain pots of money for annual paving budget, but going in and fixing utilities is a big part of that. It's a whole system that we have to address, and we got to bring all the pieces together to get where the residents deserve to have quality roads and sidewalks, and we'll keep chipping away at it.
Literally.
Yeah, thanks, yeah.
Yeah.
We're looking at
Not
recycled
chip
plastic. I
sealing
think I
away
just
at it.
watched the Saturday morning, I'm with Ava, we were watching a show, and they were talking about recycled plastics.
We're gonna try it right out front of your house.
All right.
See how it works.
I'll give you my feedback, for sure.
There was a second message.
There was a question about the average of 2 appraisals that I believe I was able to answer, and then Linda Boyles asked about 2nd Street Alley and Barn, and I don't know exactly what she means by that, but.
2nd Street Alley.
Ask Linda to call me
Okay.
with my number, and it's by the street department, I believe.
There's a
That
drainage
alleyway.
issue there.
Okay.
When we constructed the street department, we had kind of a larger project that wasn't necessarily in the budget, that also included some additional storm drains in that area, so we can always look to,
There's a plan?
there's a plan.
Hey.
All right, thank you. New business, request for use of downtown farmers market and food court. Jessica Bruder.
Yep, we are requesting to shut down Monroe Street between Lincoln Way and State, as well as the city parking lot next to Mucho Mas on the 17th for our next Friday Night Live. That's, I should say that's September 17th. We're kind of, the first one was the cruise-in. This one's gonna be a Harvest Moon theme to kind of help kick off the Sunflower Fair that's the next day. E-Man will be performing. We'll have food vendors, hoping to have some farmers market vendors, and then we're trying to get a kind of a beer garden together as well, so.
Do I have a motion to approve?
So moved.
Second?
I have a motion and a second. Discussion. Will businesses be notified downtown ahead of
They are,
time?
most of them already have, yeah.
Great.
What's the plan if weather's not?
If weather is bad, we'll probably just get canceled, depending on how bad, I guess the severity of the weather, yeah.
Well, we'll hope for good weather.
I hope it's good weather, yeah.
You worried about weather in September?
It's Indiana.
Well, it feels like Alaska today. And
In here.
By the way, for the public, it's 56 degrees, I think, in this room right here in council chambers. So giving you a little taste of Alaska today. So I do have a motion and a second. Further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor state by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes 3-0.
Thank you.
Nick Otis, resolution to dispose of 709 Maple Street. Exciting.
Thank you, Mayor. Before you, Board of Works, is a resolution determining the highest and best use of 709 Maple Avenue. There's a variety of different statutes that allow municipalities to dispose of property depending on the purpose or intent of the end use. Mr. Heinold presented on the Don George property on Pine Lake earlier. We're using a different statute for that. This property is 709 Maple, which is adjacent to the 701 Maple, the apartment building right here on the same block. And 709 used to have a 3-unit apartment building that the city ended up acquiring and demoing. And my recollection from right before it was demoed was I think we could have got about 10 guys and pushed that building over. It was in pretty rough shape. And so it's vacant land. It's just under 1/10 of an acre, and it is the assessed value is under $15,000, and we're hoping to incorporate this potentially into 701 Maple to have parking. And so we're asking that you find that the highest and best use is selling the land to the abutting landowner. The cost of maintaining the tract equals or exceeds the estimated fair market value of the tract, and it's economically unjustifiable to sell the tract under one of the different code sections. And we'll take, and asking that the city of LaPorte take all necessary steps to dispose of 709 Maple. If you have any additional questions, Bert Cook can probably answer some questions for you as well about under this statute, we have to give all abutting landowners notice. The abutting landowners are the city of LaPorte and then the new development company that has acquired 701 Maple. So if Mr. Cook spoke last night to the council, kind of updated on the development, as I walked over here today, it sounded like there was a lot of noise coming from that way, so it looked like they were doing some work, so.
Do I have a motion to approve?
So moved.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. Discussion?
So this resolution would it's just identifying that we're looking to sell it to an abutting landowner, but have they expressed an interest in purchasing it?
Yes.
Okay.
It's the developer, so we can help clean out, which was a safety hazard from a landlord that didn't care about our community. And it's been a tough year and a half since you guys have been on this board dealing with 701 Maple. And now we've got a develop in there that's actually doing some positive things for the community, and so this will help him in conjunction with the other demolitions that'll take place.
And is that, so I was just looking this up, that's so the house is gone, but there's still a house between this piece of the property, there's still one house, and then the
Correct, so there's 701 Maple is the apartment building. Then there's 705, which was apartments, but it was a house.
Yeah, okay.
And part of the agreement with the city that the council approved last night, the developer is going to demo that house. There were significant issues that code enforcement found, and I believe fire department found as well, that house is not salvageable. Additionally, the house right here on Michigan Ave, that developer's acquired that as well. So they have the entire, I guess, block over there, other than the corner that's the park,
right?
the park.
Except
Correct. Yep.
Okay.
So the goal is to help the developer acquire more opportunity for parking, and then additionally, the city's going to get some additional parking out of this as well. So I don't know if Bert Cook has any additional comments, but we've been working, doing a lot of things behind the scenes on this.
And I think the one thing you'll see, and I would say Andy, but Andy's not as old as Chief Breton. So I remember specifically Chief Breton said, this is a topic and an issue that's been going on for his entire 26 years of service, that the problems have gone on at 701 Maple.
Right.
And we're now moving forward to a new horizon. So, Bert Cook?
Yeah, thank you, Mayor. I just add a couple things to Nick's synopsis there. So the work that they're doing has been in partnership with the city. So our engineering team and the developer have been working hand in hand to come up with a plan that makes sense for that area. So a lot of what Nick referenced, the acquisition of 807 Michigan and kind of the global look at that block, has been going on hand in hand with the city. So we think it's going to rectify, a ton of issues in the area. The 701 itself, the building itself, is going from 46 units to 38 units. Each unit is being completely redone. Our city council voted in favor of supporting the project with $185,000 in recovery funds. That's going towards brand new HVAC, specifically the heating throughout the building, which will create a healthier environment, lead-based paint remediation, mold remediation through the entire structure. So you've got that going on. Then the other part of that is, I challenge you to show me a good quality housing, multifamily housing development that doesn't have any parking associated with it, right? I mean, that's just not how things are built anymore. So they're going to be able to add 40 total parking spots by redeveloping the parcels that are surrounding 701 Maple. 6 of those spots will go to the city to rectify some of our parking challenges, and then you'll have 34 parking spots for the development. So it's almost 1-to-1 parking per unit, which is a terrific improvement for that structure. So that's kind of the profile of the project. I think there's still some aspects to work through in terms of design, but they're committed to working with Nick Minnick and his team to find the right applications. And I think Nick would probably tell you that we're very appreciative of the fact that they're making those efforts to make this part of that, make the development part of a really good global development on that block.
I guess I'd comment, when I became the city attorney and we have, of course, been dealing with issues at that building, not being an engineer or somebody with I guess a great mind for redeveloping properties, I thought this building just needs to come down. But I think Nick Minnick and Bert have seen the value, that there's a lot of value in that building if the right person got a hold of it, and it sounds like that we found them.
The developer also has another project here, so he's got different equity partners on both deals, but he's redeveloping the Lowe's building downtown. That's the 3-unit that's, you may have heard about. They're doing 3 commercial units on the ground floor and then 12 apartments on the 2nd and 3rd floors. So a huge improvement on that building as well. So I think it helps that he's got familiarity with the community and that they're already mobilized or working in the area. So I think both projects are going to be terrific.
Further questions?
This, though, is just determining that we're changing the use and deciding to sell it.
Correct, you're not agreeing to sell it today, but you have to, pursuant to the statute, make this finding that the highest and best use, in maybe I could have Bert add this. Bert, is there any value in a tenth of an acre in the city for an entirely different developer?
Right, effectively, it's unbuildable because of the size of the property. And we've got a number of these type of properties that the city has acquired, generally through like tax sale or that process, but the lot doesn't have any value because you can't do anything with it. And so it makes all the sense in the world to work with adjoining landowners to try and encompass it in some other development in order to get the best use for the property you can.
And actually within the last couple of years, myself and Jerry Jackson worked with NIPSCO and used this same statute so that they could increase a substation on A Street across from the bus barn. So it's not uncommon to do this, and particularly since we have a lot of small lots, parcels in town. You know, you think about the developments, you know, a lot of them need an acre, right? I mean, if you're gonna have a commercial development anymore, you know, parcels this size just aren't valuable, so.
And you talk about the broader challenges of the city owns a lot of these parcels. That means they're not paying tax on them. I mean, figuring out creative ways to get them back on the tax rolls only helps our financial situation as well.
Thank you. Hearing no further discussion, all in favor, state by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes 3-0. Mary Ann Richards, the one and only. I know she's excited to come here this morning.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Good morning.
I sent copies, PDFs of the
Sorry, Mary,
contracts.
Do you feel comfortable? If you don't, it's okay. All right. Speak louder, please.
I can yell, use my outside voice.
That's better. Thank you.
Previously, you should have received in an email copies, PDFs of the contracts. They're the standard boilerplate contracts that I've been using for 16 years. And I'm asking for approval. Quotes were opened at the last Board of Works meeting and awarded contracts to these 4 contractors, and these contracts just solidify the work to be done.
Mr. Otis, can we approve all of these as one?
Yep.
Do I have a motion to approve all agreements together as one?
So moved.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. Discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor state by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes 3-0. You got to be shocked.
I'm going to leave now.
Thank you. Any unfinished business?
Mayor, Chris Clenard said really great to hear about the cleanup of Maple Ave and other housing projects downtown. And Linda Boyles, who asked about the issue, said she will reach out to you.
Yes, and I'll work with Jerry and I think Nick to update, because Jerry's been there, I've been there, I think Nick's been there, so we'll get an update to her.
Yep.
And, I mean, we're all not blind to know what's happening around us. So from a city perspective, anybody that needs to be vaccinated, we would love to help provide you options of where to go for being vaccinated, 362-0151. I'm not a judge, jury, or doctor, but unless there's health, medical reasons, or religious reasons, I'm not sure why or how we get more people vaccinated. My cell is 363-7293, and I've had friends that just were vaccinated, came back from a conference, and were tested positive for COVID, and he said it was not fun after being vaccinated. Another individual that went to this conference that looks to be not vaccinated is now fighting for his life in the hospital. So I'm just going to encourage any way that the city of LaPorte can help address concerns, connect you to the right medical field individuals to answer concerns and questions. We're here, we're all in this together. To me, it's not a political issue. Think about your family, your friends, those that are elderly, the younger kids, and any way we can help make that happen, whether it's transportation, answering questions, again, we want to do it. So,
Mayor, what are the options like within the city to get vaccinated?
we have options at the old hospital, can go right there through the county. HealthLink has an option, and we can connect those people if they call and reach out to us direct and help them make it as easy as possible. And I think we'll see more opportunities to be vaccinated in the near future.
Pharmacy.
All pharmacies, yes. And there's also COVID testing, rapid, I know, at CVS, at HealthLink, because that is also ramped up. Individuals walking in looking for testing for the COVID. So we'll make sure we do that. And then I'm sure Amanda, on another topic at the Herald Dispatch, wants to make sure people know about what Mr. Kosher's doing in the upcoming weeks here to help fund what you're doing for cancer. So if you can, I can put you on the spot and you could share that again.
I guess you did put me on the spot.
So Amanda, pay attention, Mr. Kosher's doing this. Go ahead.
I'm riding in the Coast to Coast for Cancer. Our company puts this ride on, and we have teams that ride 3-day segments, and it's a fundraiser for the V Foundation, which is founded by Jim Valvano, former basketball coach at NC State, and ESPN. They founded the foundation, so that's what I'll be doing. Well, I got one more meeting, and then I'll take off that weekend. So it's in the middle of September.
But people can provide dollars towards your ride.
Yes, yes. I guess Donor Drive is the website that you'd have to go to and search Coast to Coast for Cancer. I'm not sure I'm even allowed to provide this info. They have media people because it's a foundation, but I guess I might get some phone calls after this.
It's better to ask for forgiveness than approval, so. Any other topics? Ms. Romine, are you riding in any bikes for cancer or anything?
I'm not riding in any bikes now.
I'm riding
Tour
in
de
a
La
breast-
Porte is this
There you
weekend,
go.
though, for
That's right,
cancer.
Tour de La Porte, that's right.
Yeah,
I'm riding in
through
a
the Y,
breast
so.
cancer fundraiser in Fishers at the end of September, so you could come along with that and get a training ride in.
Oh, very nice.
That's after he rides through Monroe Manor to make sure everything's working well.
On the new roads.
All right, do I have a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. All in favor state by saying aye.
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 We are adjourned. Thank you, everybody.